Thanks for joining us live with Miami's Community News. And we're going to be talking about illegal dumping. And we have a senior guy, all right, from the Solid Waste Department, Miami-Dade. I was going to say College, Miami-Dade County. All right, Frank Calderon, welcome and thank you for coming back.
Thank you. Senior in more ways than one.
Yes, the last couple of years have flown by so quickly. So let's talk about illegal dumping and littering and all the things that we do because we get a little bit lazy. So when folks are driving down the street, we see sometimes, I'm looking in front, oh, there's a cup out that window, or maybe at the other side. So tell us about that, what it means to the county and to the environment when people do things like that.
Well, a few distinctions here. Littering and illegal dumping are similar. Illegal dumping is a form of littering and is actually, and we'll get into this a little bit later, is actually prosecutable as a crime. But when we think of litter, we usually talk small amounts, something that you can hold in your hand. Basically, you just anything as small as a gum wrapper, throwing it on the ground, to driving through the drive-through at 3 a.m. and you eat your food while you're driving home, and you decide you don't want that empty bag in your car anymore. You just throw it out. You just open the window and throw it out. Obviously it's something that nobody wants except the person who just did it. And we wish that we could get it to stop, of course, but we do work at least on illegal dumping, which is a little bit more substantial than litter.
Let's talk about people that smoke and then flick the butt outside the window. So it's usually live, meaning it's still hot. All right. So with cigarette butts, you got a couple things going on. You have the litter, and then you have the potential fire during our dry seasons.
Yeah, that's that's a small piece of litter, but it's litter nonetheless. And obviously there's the hazard, especially if you're the dry season, you're driving around downtown Miami Trail, the middle of the Everglades, and that cigarette butt is lit and might go off to the side, and Lord knows what can happen.
So every once in a while, we get to see when there's some floods going on. TV shows, TV news are showing all the stuff that's sitting around the drains. That's all that stuff got littered or dumped on. It didn't magically come from the sky. So your guys need to deal. The county folks need to deal with all that stuff that goes and helps that clogs up the drainage that goes on our sidewalks and on the area that the county is to cut. All right. So when the guy goes along with the lawnmower and it's littered with paper cups with the heavy plastic on the outside, do you usually pick it up before, or do we do like I like to do in my yard, just run it over where it produces 1,000 pieces?
Well, that type of maintenance falls. I'm not sure if that's with parks now. The roadway aesthetics. I don't remember the acronym. But I know they have a division that is focused on doing that. And then you have, when we were merged with Public Works, we did work on a small campaign. It's now part of the Department of Transportation and Public Works, where we try to encourage people, especially landscapers, don't put stuff down the storm drains, because you're not supposed to do it, number one. And number two, it can clog up the storm drains.
So one of the things that we know as human beings, when we get to see it, touch it, feel it, smell it, we're more apt to behave appropriately, right? So if you walk along whatever avenue you want to pick out, all right, and just walk along there and look on the ground and see all the stuff that's thrown out of people's windows, all right? Folks can just take that stuff. If they don't want it in their front seat, do what I do and throw it in the back seat. Make sure my wife doesn't smell whatever's in the back, and then take it and throw it in a container, an appropriate container. And so what I do frequently is when I go to pump gas, if I have anything that's not, private stuff, bags and stuff, I just take it and put it over there so I don't have to.
In the garbage.
Right. And that's okay to do. That's why they have those trash cans here. So people can take their stuff and put it in there. So littering, if a policeman sees somebody littering, they can go and talk to them about it if they're having a slow day. Right. And what would the policeman say to them?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I know that even littering is it's on the books as a crime. So a police officer can give a ticket for littering, even small amounts. And that's in the state statutes, if I'm not mistaken.
And I know it's important for the young children to be acutely aware of that, because you have this whole lifetime of somebody that learned the lesson. If the guy is 75 years old, It's like, all right, yeah, but you haven't learned it by this time. It's going to sort of hard for you. One of the things that I've been subjected to and seen a lot of is illegal dumping. I go down to the homestead out west, and I see that alongside the road. You realize it's not the owner's property, because you see the way it was disposed of. Tell us about how the county can catch people, or does catch people that do those illegal dumpings.
Well, we have our code enforcement officers, and we have actually, in addition to our code enforcement officers who are basically assigned zones, so that all of our service areas covered. All of our service areas, basically the places where we collect garbage from, and that includes some of the smaller municipalities, not the bigger ones, plus unincorporated. And we have a special investigative unit, SIU, that's focused on illegal dumping. And they can go beyond. They're not, pinned to one zone in particular. They go because sometimes stuff goes across zones, because an illegal dumper isn't concerning himself with, well, I can't go over, across this street because that's somebody else's zone. So they do investigate. They have several techniques. They'll look through the pile, try to find evidence there. There've been cases where they found a variety of things that have helped them out. Old bills, other documents, checks, and you'd be amazed what people throw out when they illegally dump. I saw one littered with checks, and I thought, there's your banking information. Why do you even do that? But that's just me. And then they also have hidden cameras.
So when you're out there and you think you're getting away with it, all right,
you might be on video,
right on you, right?
Yeah.
And there's pretty much you don't get out of that. I mean, their yard, you're doing it. What about people? How often do you find carcasses of animals that have been dumped on the side of the road? Is that a frequent thing or just occasional?
That's a good one. That I don't know specifically. I imagine just from the area and just anecdotally, I've read people finding them all the time in all kinds of places. This is Miami, so you sometimes find people that use these animals as animal sacrifices or whatever. Where I live, I've gone walking early in the morning, like exercise, like power walking, and I've gone by railroad tracks that are near me, and sometimes you can smell something dead.
So there were times back 10 years or so ago, what I was told I live in the horse country, there used to be a lot more Santa As a matter of fact, some people deposited a goat in our front yard. Thank you very much. Wow. We were doing some heavy duty reporting, and they found out that I lived there. So it was an interesting time. That when people dump these animals, I heard there were some folks in the county that were reluctant, because there was Santa Maria stuff, to participate in the removal of that. Did you hear that? Have you heard that?
I have not heard that. No.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that it's better. All right, to do that. But let's talk about how people dump things in the homestead, which is mostly an agricultural area, not many homes, and people think that they can do it. Is the trash, the debris that is dumped there, different than the ones that are dumped down the street from wherever it happens to be, or is it similar?
To be honest, I don't know. I imagine there you may find more commercial, you may find agricultural, I imagine, only because it's in the area, but find it from somebody who's not very scrupulous, who has a bunch of waste, and they decide they want to get rid of it, but not near where their farm is, so they'll go and they'll drive and make it somebody else's problem.
I think I mentioned to you about 10 years ago, there's a dead horse right on 118th Avenue, and there was a rope around the neck and around the tree, and I realized they pulled it out of the back of the truck and they left it. So people in the neighborhood are complaining. I said, these are not people from Pinecrest that dumped this. It's our neighbors that dumped it here. Somebody around here put this here.
It may very well have been somebody nearby.
Yeah.
So nearby, but not too close.
Yes. And I did see, by the way, the county, it was only 3 days or 4 days from the time an old boat was dumped recently on 118th. County came, and I'm not sure if it was a county truck that picked it up or they hired somebody, whatever it was. It was very, very quick, quicker than usual. Why is it getting better as far as the cleanup? What's occurring there?
We're focusing on it more. It's clearly become a big problem, as expressed to us by a lot of people, by residents, by our commissioners, and such. And elected officials. So we focused on it more than we have in the past. We do have, like I said, a dedicated unit of code enforcement. It falls under the purview of the code enforcement who works the specific zone that may happen in. But we also have a unit that's dedicated to working beyond zones and just on illegal dumping. On top of that, you have a Miami-Dade Police Department unit dedicated to illegal dumping as well.
Are you familiar with? Are there certain areas that tend to be cleaner, and certain areas that tend to have a lot more dumping? Not a little bit, but a disparity, a big disparity.
I'm not aware of specific, that type of level of disparity. I can tell you that in general is a problem, like pretty much countywide, unfortunately. There's no, you ask for where the hot spots are, they're all over the county. There's no specific, 2 or 3 spots that are like the worst ones in the whole county that people go from all over to bring it to. People tend to dump this stuff somewhat close to them, or en route between one place or another, but never or rarely, I'm not going to say never, but rarely near their own where they live or where they work.
Okay. Can we talk about the green dumpsters that we put out in my area Mondays and Thursdays? All right. I'm delighted that if my memory serves me right, that the county services more than 300,000 homes.
Yes, it's about 340, 350,000
homes twice a week.
Yes.
Plus, they go to people that have recycling bins.
Plus the people that have recycling, yes.
All right. Which is an extraordinary amount of homes, of customers to service. And we did have an occasion, by the way, to have the bulky waste division come out. I called ahead of time. This is when we're going to do it. So I made sure I had enough days to put my stuff out there. When we got done with our stuff, I took pictures. All right. And sure enough, it's sort of like, exactly what's going to happen. Oh, there's a trash pile. Let's put our stuff in that trash pile too. Only one time did I see anybody stop and do it. All right. Because you'd have to be driving by, right, to see it, all right, or you just heard it. So there's one guy's there, all right, and I didn't want to confront him, all right, but I did.
Smart move.
All right, I did so it was about 40 feet away. I did take a picture just in case, all right, and he was there just throwing the stuff that was there, and so my advice again is somebody's doing the trash, all right, just don't bother with it, all right, but they should call 311.
Yes, if you see it in progress, you can even call 911 because it's a crime. It's illegal dumping. But it's always wise if you see it after the fact. If you realize, hey, I only had so much on my pile, somebody came by and dumped a bunch of boards or whatever on it, call 311. Because what happens is that you have, as our customer, you have 2 pickups of 25 cubic yards each, and if you had exactly 25 cubic yards and it's per year. And it's your first pickup of the year, and somebody dumps a bunch of stuff on it, and you don't report it, and they just come pick it up. They're going to say, "Oh, you went over the 25 limit, so there goes your second pickup." And then later in the year, you can't use it because it's been gone, and it wasn't your fault. So report it right away as soon as you notice it.
And by the way, I also took pictures because they asked me. I said, "That's a lot of that's not for me." And so my wife was at the house. I said, "Okay, that's fine." And I made sure when I took it, there was a landmark behind it, which is this giant tree, right? So what if you go and you do your duty and you already did 125, or you could do a 150?
You can combine, yeah.
Right. So let's just say that you put the trash out there, and by the time you get done, because you want to clean out every closet in the house and every tree limb, and you go, "Oh, I'm over my usage," right? The county will pick it up, but they're going to send you a bill for that extra.
They will bill you, I believe it's $25 per cubic yard. We used to have a 5 cubic yard limit if you went over, but they don't anymore. It's just $25 per cubic yard. Or you have the option of, if you want, to take the excess yourself to one of the trash and recycling centers.
Not in my truck.
Won't cost you.
All right. Right. And how many sites are there where people can take their trash?
We have 13. We call them TRCs for short. TRCs, trash and recycling centers. They're open to people who get service from us. our customer. That's where we get into the distinction between residents or customers. Our customers, because we serve. If you have the green waste cart and you're getting waste collection service from us, and the blue recycling cart, most likely, and bulky waste, most likely you have the option to use these, no extra charge.
So if you don't have the green carts, then you're not being charged the annual fee for picking them up.
At least not our green carts.
What?
At least not county green carts.
So are there people that don't have them, that are residents of Miami-Dade County?
They may live in a condo or something like that, or an apartment building.
I got to tell you, the guys that came out, I only met them on the phone. They're very helpful, thoughtful. They went through the whole thing. It was really, really nice. All right. Now, sometimes there are plenty of homes that people don't want to leave that grassy stuff on their driveway or on their property. And sometimes the neighbors, all right, have extra property, they don't care. All right. You could do that, right? If you have permission from the neighbor.
I'm not sure what you were.
If my neighbor has 10 acres, all right, and I don't want, my house is just so pristine, I don't want to leave anything out there for 4 or 5 days. If I have permission to leave it there, but that is on my
you mean in front, in the right of way, in front of the neighbor?
In the front.
That's a good question for 311. I wouldn't know for sure. I imagine it wouldn't be a problem if the neighbor agrees to it. But I don't know how.
It goes on your account, not on the neighbor.
But yeah, you would have to be the one arranging the pickup, and it would count on yours. If your neighbors are willing to give up, we've had cases before. If they're willing to give up one of their pickups, that's a different story.
So just so how simple it was for at least me, and I'm somewhat computer literate, not great, went to miamidade.gov, bulky waste pickup, I think, or waste pickup.
/ solid waste.
Went on there, you put in your address, they tell you how many you're entitled to for this calendar year, which is really nice, all right? And it was great. And they said, when's the last day you're going to have your trash out there? Then they have a certain number of days from that day to, which is usually how long?
I think it's about 8 days now. It used to be 10 when I started with the department, so we're cutting it down.
And do they have somebody to scope it out before they call the trucks over, or is that done at the same time?
That would probably be the enforcement officer for the zone. They'll check and see if anything was. That's where you can get. That's why we tell people call right away if you see that somebody illegally dumped, because you don't want to get hit with an illegal dumping charge or ticket if somebody comes and dumps illegal stuff, like stuff that wouldn't be allowed to be picked up, for example, and that sort of thing. So that's why we say report it.
And they ask you if you want a confirmation number, do that, all right? Because that's always
because then you refer to you can refer to that specific request back at.
And I got to tell you, when I told my wife I was going to do all that, she was duly impressed that I remembered from here to the telephone to the computer. So. What are the potential fines for dumping? And do you usually get repeat offenders? Does that happen?
Repeat offenders, I've heard of some cases of repeat offenders. I'm not aware of it being a huge problem or a common problem. I can tell you that the fine starts at $260 and it can go up well beyond that. It can go over $2,000.
So if somebody stops their car because it's dark one night and there's not much stuff going on, all right, they dump it and they find out, right? They can get a fine of $250. And
that's the minimum.
Right. And by the way, I understood there was a case, the national case has been in the news recently. There's a guy a YouTuber, and I want to thank Andres for telling me, all right? He's just doing a film, all right? And he's looking at the YouTube video that he did. And then he recognizes a vehicle for all the publicity, right? Then in the video, there's some guy with a shovel digging something. Got caught because somebody had a camera. So the county has cameras all over.
We have cameras in various locations, right. And the police unit that's dedicated to illegal dumping, they also have cameras. Matter of fact, we had one case where their camera and our camera pieced together the tag number of an illegal dumper.
Oh, no.
We caught one part of it, and the police department's cameras caught at around the same time, caught the other part of it, and boom, bingo presto, we were able to get
that's like getting a touchdown. Hey,
yes.
Man, boss, we did it. We put this together, 6 points. Yeah, speaking of that. Okay. So fines can start at $250. They can go up really high. Is there a connection between the size of the trash, the dump they do, and the amount of the fine?
Yes. And off of my memory, you're asking me off of memory. I wouldn't be able to tell you the specifics. I can tell you once it reaches a certain amount. Um, and there are a couple different things. If it's considered commercial, it doesn't matter how small. Or if it's non-commercial, at a certain, there's a certain threshold where the fine goes up into, we're now talking not just a few hundred, but now a thousand or a couple thousand. And in addition to that, you're subject to arrest and possibly even vehicle seizure.
The vehicle that was used in the
In
crime.
yes.
Let's talk about all those old cans of paints that we have hidden throughout our property, and kerosene and gasoline and all this stuff. Where can people take that?
They can go to one of our two home chemical collection centers. We have two. We have one right by the south, or on the campus of the South Dade landfill. You just don't enter the main gate. There's a second, a special gate for that. And we have one in Doral at Northwest 58th Street. Another thing that you could potentially do is check with, because there's some retailers that will accept some of these items. The gas and kerosene is a little bit tricky. You maybe I haven't tried yet. Maybe with like a home improvement or hardware store or an auto parts store, they may be willing to take. I believe auto parts stores may take like used motor oil, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Kerosene and gasoline a little bit trickier since they're a little bit tricky to handle. They're potential hazards. We will take that at our facility. Residential use only, though. Don't bring in the commercial truck with a commercial with, I have 100 gallons of gas. No, but a few gallons that you have because your generator, you didn't use it last year or this hurricane season, or you have a boat, you have a few gallons of gas that are left over. That, yes, if you're in Miami-Dade County, they'll take it.
So this type of thing, when you dispose of liquids that are hazardous, and disposing them properly is a good feeling that goes along with this, because it's the obvious, well, I could just dump it in my yard and it's not going to matter. But it does matter.
It does matter because you're talking about contaminating our drinking water source, the groundwater, which is the Biscayne Aquifer, which is basically underneath the ground all county-wide. There's no place in Miami-Dade County that doesn't have the Biscayne Aquifer underneath it.
I know the county and the state and perhaps the federal government are looking how to take care of our 120,000 septic tanks that we have here, right? Maybe in our lifetime we're going to be able to solve that. And we know that it's important, and our children remind us of that all the time. I think I mentioned before, my daughter's, now she's grown about this big, she's at school. She said, Daddy, if you hit me, I'm going to call the police. I go, that's wonderful. And you should. I said, where did you learn that? She's at school, right? And you realize how much that starts there at those young years to be able to take care of our community. We know there's certain times of the year where the county says, please don't fertilize at certain times of the year. I think that's now, all right? And with all the rain that's been going on, all right, we know that stuff just seeps in the ground. And during one of the storms 15, 20 years ago on our property down in Homestead, it was flooding right mid-calf. And it was there for a week and a half, right? And all that stuff was just floating there, right? And I was wearing boots and the water got in. Within a couple of days, my feet were infected, all right? So that stuff is there. So don't put the stuff on the ground, all right? Find a good place to put that. Let's talk about the green dumpsters. People, they historically get two at their house. If they want more, they can do that. They have to pay
for it. The green carts,
I'm sorry.
They do have wheels. They get one.
One.
If they want an extra one, they have to pay not just for the container itself, but because it's being serviced. So now now we're picking up, the next door neighbor may have only one. Now we're picking up double the amount of waste. So there is a charge. I believe it's in the neighborhood of $130 a year now for having the extra cart. But if you're our customer, you get the one cart. That's part of your service. There's no extra charge for that. That's part of your regular waste collection.
If they want more, let's say
if you want an additional one, then yes.
Home, all right, you can do that. They'll deliver to your house.
Yes.
And if there's sorry, if you have a cart that the top is broken or the wheels, you can call.
Yeah, 311. They'll come in. We actually have a cart crew, and they'll go out and if they can repair it on the spot, they'll do it. If not, they'll replace the cart.
I want you to know, since we've done this a few times, this is what I do between my green carts now.
Very good. Yeah, that's about 5 feet.
Yeah, and so
Roughly.
I get it now, and I realize, if that card is crooked, it requires
You
a
can
little
throw it
bit
off.
different thought process to be able to do that. So I try and line them up there, walking out with my boxer shorts on. The neighbors
Just make sure they're 5
see
feet
this
apart.
guy out there lining up the garbage cans, but we're having a good time with that. A lot of people put landscaping material, the extra grass they put into that. Is that okay?
In the green cart, yes,
Yes.
that's fine.
So, so we have Halloween that's coming up, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. I don't know what percentage of Dade County homes wind up with Christmas trees, but it's a lot.
Yeah, we see quite a few.
And what should people do with their Christmas trees?
Well, the ideal thing is to take it to, we usually announce right around Christmas time. I don't know if it's the week before or right just after Christmas. We have several of our TRCs, not all 13 will do this, but we have several sites where you can bring the tree in, make sure to take the tinsel off, the lights, ornaments, stuff like that. And those trees that are brought into us this way are going to be turned into mulch that we make available, February, March. And then we make an announcement on that as well. And it's available free, first come, first serve, but only to our customers.
And is that put into some sort of carrying container, plastic bag, burlap bag, or you just put it in your trunk?
No, just put the tree. Well, you can carry it in your car if you don't want the pine needles.
No, I meant the mulch.
The mulch, no, you have to bring your own bag.
All right.
It's free, but it's first come, first serve, and you do have to bring as soon as we make it available, you have to bring a bag or a bucket or whatever you want, any type of container to carry it.
So I understand we put them through these machines, and the wood, the tree trunk, if you will, and the limbs, they turn into mulch. What happens to the green things? How does that?
The needles are part of the mulch too, which is nice because you get the nice pine smell.
It's perfect. All right.
It smells great. It actually smells great.
So if somebody has concrete blocks, they got left to the house, all right, they want to get rid of them. What's the best way to handle that?
Well, all right, we do allow some a small amount of what we call C&D for short construction and demolition debris. Like if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you redid your bathroom and you have a small amount of, you may have the tub, you may have some cement blocks, that sort of thing. We allow you to take to our TRCs. I want to say it's about 3 cubic yards. A cubic yard is about the size of a washing machine. So think of about 3 washing machines, about the size of like a mid-sized pickup, the bed, not overflowing, but roughly about the size of a mid-sized pickup truck.
Okay, and let's talk about the responsibility of a homeowner who has work done at their house by a contractor. Let's say rip out the tile and put a new tile, and it's 1,500 feet of tile, right? That they're replacing. The guy's if he takes it in his truck, all right, what can a homeowner do to make sure the homeowner doesn't wind up having a problem?
Make sure you have a receipt from them. And preferably some of them may not, I don't know how picky they'll get. But if you can get them specifically to say that on the receipt that they're charging you for the tile, they're charging you for installing the tile, they're charging you for the removal and disposal of the old tile as well. Make sure that's in there. Then if something comes up and somebody wants to point the finger at you and say you illegally dumped this, if the contractor was unscrupulous and dumped it off the side of the road somewhere, you can point to the receipt and say, no, I didn't. Here's my receipt. I paid for it.
So if a contractor or a homeowner takes a bunch of trash, they put it on the side of the road. Somebody from the county's got somebody gets a call or they see it. Then they have to ask somebody from the county to come out and see it. They got to go pick it up, 1 or 2 people, right? They got to put it into the vehicle and then take it someplace else to dispose of it. That's a lot of work, considering that the person that dumped it there could just
have just done the right thing in the first. That you bring up a good point, because in addition to any other penalties you might get for illegal dumping, most of the time they'll make you take the stuff you dumped and get rid of it the right way and show proof. So there's a saying in Spanish, el vago trabaja doble, the lazy person does twice the work. Man, that's a
so when I see these guys from the county pick up that stuff, I'm thinking, what a pain. it was already on a vehicle to get wherever they got to. So all this extra, I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars in manpower and maybe thousands, all right, depending on what it is. And to think about that, all that guy had to do was drive from horse country to 24th Street, 45th to 24th Street on 117th at that point.
The
And go to that.
TRC that's there.
Go to that
That's
site.
true if they are a customer and it's not commercial. We have had cases where people had had the right to be able to use one of our TRCs, and they illegally dumped anyway, which is mind-boggling. Okay, it's a little bit, it may be a little bit farther out than what you wanted to drive. You may have to wait on the line if it's weekend and it's a little bit busy, but you're doing the right thing and you're getting rid of it, and you're not going to get any hassles. You're not going to have people coming at you with tickets or possibly even arrest, depending on the size of what you have. You go in with a clean conscience. I did the right thing. I'm going to go home now, and that's it. And you're done.
Yeah, and then they can look into their eyes of their grandchildren that we did the right thing. Frank Calderon, thank you for joining us today. Congratulations on making the town a whole lot better than it was before.
Thank you, and I'm glad. Thank you for having me here.
My pleasure again. Thank you for joining us, and I want to thank Michael Fernandez, who's produced the show. And we're out of here. Remember, folks, be safe out there.